After importing Persona Kit into your project, go to the top menu and select Tools, Persona Kit, Settings to open the Settings menu. Here, you can configure your AI service provider settings. Persona Kit supports 3 AI services: OpenAI, Gemini AI, and Azure AI. You can adjust settings for each of them in this menu. Let's start with the OpenAI settings. On this screen, you can choose from the predefined models or select the custom option to use a model that isn't listed. You can also adjust values like max tries, temperature, top P, presence penalty, and frequency penalty to customize the settings for the best results. Each section includes a brief explanation, and more detailed information is provided in the documentation. After customizing all the settings, make sure to click the Save button to save your changes. Now we can create our first persona. Personas are scriptable objects, and to create one, go to the top menu and navigate through Assets, Create, Persona Kit, and then Persona Data. Alternatively, you can right-click in the Assets menu and access the same options. When you do this, a new scriptable object named New Persona Data will appear in the Assets folder. When you select this object, you'll see a detailed editor in the Inspector menu. This editor includes 15 sections: ID, name, age, gender, language, world, job, level, backstory, context, verbosity, interest, attitude, personality, loves, and finally hates. Now, let's go through each of these sections one by one and create our first persona. All right, let's create an anime character. Our character's name will be Neko-chan. She is 7 years old and her gender is set to female. We want her to speak English, so we leave the language section as it is. Her world is set to anime. Her job is student. Since she doesn't have a level, we'll leave that section blank. Empty fields will be ignored. Now let's add a short backstory and context. The verbosity section defines how talkative the character is. We'll set this to short, since Neko-chan isn't very talkative. She's usually busy, so we'll set interest to uninterested. We'll leave attitude as polite, which is the default. You can customize these settings to fit your own characters. Finally, we'll add a few personality traits, along with things she loves and hates, and our character will be complete. Now, to use the scriptable object, we first need to create a script. I'll name it Persona Script. Next, I create a game object that I'll assign the script to. After creating the game object, I add the Persona script as a component, then double-click it to open the script. Before doing anything in the script, make sure to include the Persona Kit namespace. This will give you access to the Persona Kit tools. Next, to use the Persona Data scriptable object we created earlier, add a serialize field variable of type Persona Data in the script. Now let's go back to the Unity editor. Drag and drop the Persona Data object into the appropriate field in the inspector. Now let's go back to our script and send our first message to get a response. First, create a new instance of the Persona Manager and assign the Persona Data object we created earlier to it. Then, to send the message, call the Send Message function from the Persona Manager script and pass in your first message. This function also requires your API key. For security reasons, Persona Kit does not store your API key, even in runtime memory. It only asks for it when making a call. For this test, we'll enter the API key through the Unity editor, but keep in mind, this is for testing only. Never include your API key in any production folder. Now let's get our character's response and log it in the console. To do this, call the getMessage function from the same Persona Manager script. This function is asynchronous, and getting a response may take some time depending on the service you're using. Because of that, it requires a callback function that will be triggered once the message is received. You can either pass a function directly into the call or define a separate function that will process the message and reference it here. Both methods are valid. Choose the one that fits your workflow best. All right, now we've created a Persona Manager instance, sent our first message, Set up a callback function to debug.log the response as soon as it arrives. Now let's switch back to the Unity editor and test it out. Let's click the play button and run our code. As you can see, the response arrived within a few seconds, and our character is behaving exactly as we defined, reacting based on the given context. With this setup, you can create and use unlimited characters of any type, all running simultaneously.